Hi everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me. I'll just get a quick confirmation from YouTube and then we'll get started with the session. So this session is going to be focused on NMAT, right? So as the title goes, ask me anything on NMAT preparation strategy. But of course, as part of that, if there's anything else that you want to know about, say NMAT or NMIMS, please feel free to ask. I'll be very happy to share whatever insights that I have. And yeah, let's get started with the session. Just waiting for maybe a few more minutes. I think we'll wait for a minute, not more than that, maybe so that more people can join in and then we can get started. Hi. I can see some of you have put a message in the comment section. So yeah, okay, just a minute. Yeah. Okay, all right. I think we are good to go. Great. So I can already see. Hi, random guy. So there's a question from Parth. So let me start with that. So hi Parth, the question is NMIMS even worth it? It's a small campus and extremely costly to live there. The only good thing is that it is in Mumbai. Okay, so firstly, see the question of worth, right? It's a fairly relative assessment when you look at anything in life. Somebody might say that an iPhone 16 is worth it. Somebody will say it's not worth it, right? So you have to figure out that considering your overall life situation, right, your own aspiration, whether something is making sense to you or not. Right? See, it's easy for anybody to be a critic and say that this is not a good option or whatever, or somebody will say, no, this is the best option that is out there. You have to understand that everything is going to be a relative assessment, right? So figure out what other options, let's say, heard or read somewhere. So I would say that you don't do that. You make an application, right, and see what happens. If you get a shortlist, if you get a convert, then you can always decide what is it that you want to do once you have that. But right now, I will not really jump to the conclusion and say that okay, this is something that is very expensive and all of that, because see, pretty much everything is going to be expensive, right? No matter which MBA program you do, it is going to be a costly affair unless you go to a place where the education is heavily subsidized, right? But otherwise, I think pretty much everything is going to be pretty expensive. And again, when you say expensive, also it's a subjective term. Some people will say that X amount is not that expensive. Somebody will say it is expensive, right? So yeah, I definitely won't recommend anybody jumping to the conclusion and say, okay, this is where I'll not apply or whatever. Because see, ultimately, even if you think of return on investment, everybody has a very flawed way of calculating return on investment, because if you look at the long term return of investment on let's say return on investment of the MBA degree, because pretty much everybody will have, let's say, assuming things go smooth and all of that, let's assume 30 years of corporate career, right? 30-35 years, you will always be net positive on the investment that you make at this point of time. So even when you got into school, your parents must have thought, right, that okay, how much money we are spending, but when they saw an option which was, let's say, even slightly more expensive, but they thought that okay, this will give you a better return, they sort of invested into that. So it's okay, I would say, don't think too much into it right now. Just make an application and see what happens post that. All right, question from Akshay: how to prep for NMAT starting from now? I'm preparing for CAT as well. Okay, so Akshay, I think this is a question that a lot of students have, that I'm preparing for CAT now, how do I sort of transition towards NMAT as well? See, the first things first is when you do your CAT preparation, right? Majority of the stuff is going to be common with NMAT prep, right? So there's a lot of overlap. So you have to only focus on the elements that are not common, right? What I mean by that is, let's say when you do your CAT RC preparation, you are automatically getting prepared for the NMAT RCs. There's nothing separate or different about it. Of course, the level of difficulty will vary, but if you're able to solve difficult RCs, you will definitely be able to solve the easy RCs. So that is where I'll not spend my time, right? But I'll do, say, for example, grammar. Now, grammar is something that is not tested on the CAT. So I will have to do grammar, and that will help me. I'll have to do vocabulary. When it comes to the logical reasoning section, I will have to focus on those standalone puzzles, coding, decoding, blood relations, and so on. And within mathematics, again, there's no specific area that you need to work on, because NMAT quant is a subset of CAT quant. But you will have to practice a fair bit of questions of data sufficiency, because that is one area which is unique to NMAT, right? Apart from that, the prep remains more or less the same, whatever you're doing for CAT. Now, one important thing is going to be definitely taking mock test. So the NMAT mock test, the IMS, at IMS we have released 5 mocks. We'll be releasing 5 more mocks, so total 10 mocks for NMAT. And alongside that, you also have the NMAT official mock, and it's a very good tool that you have. So definitely take the NMAT official mock 1. It also has a retake, so you can take it again. It's a separate set of questions. So technically, it's 2 mock tests that they also offer. I would suggest that you take a few IMS NMAT mocks, and once you get used to the format of the test, then you take the NMAT official mock 1. So it will give you a better return that way. Apart from that, there isn't much. So taking mock test and doing these additional areas that I just mentioned. Question from Kana Arora. Does NMIMS Mumbai accept first of that particular year, or overall, if this year is not selected, next year will I be eligible? It is for that season. So that season's first attempt is what they consider. So when you look at NMIMS 2025 admissions, the NMAT 24 attempt, the first attempt will be considered. Whether you had appeared for, let's say, NMAT 23 or 22, that they won't be counting. Similarly, NMAT 24 attempt, NMIMS will not consider it for the NMIMS 26 starting batch, right? So it's only valid for that one admission cycle. And in that season, whatever the first attempt that you take, that is something that NMIMS will consider. Okay. Amarnath, again, similar question, right? The fees is around 6K for both NMIMS and NMAT. Can you please help me understand if it is worth applying for? See, that is the whole point, right? So right now we're none of us, right? We are not in a position to estimate worth of an institute, right? The institute is a far bigger thing than what we are at this point of time. I have to see, a lot of people like doing this thing, right? Where they say that something is not worth it, right? It's very expensive or this or that. My point is very simple, that you have so many students who go there every single year. They graduate from that institute and they're able to have a career that they want. So people are not stupid, right? People are going there, and I'm not only talking about NMIMS, I'm talking about colleges in general. That people go to institutes because there is a history, right? Because they see that, okay, somebody else had gone there and that person had a similar outcome. Now, you can always sit and debate whether the money that the institute is charging you, is that over the whatever the acceptable range or below that or whatever it is. But that is not going to help anybody. So that is why I'll say that right now you may be thinking that, okay, it's a lot of money. But see, all of you will recover that money at some point of time. So if anybody is thinking that I will lose my money, not really, because no matter which MBA you do and which institute you do it from, in the long run, you will always recover that money. So that is why don't think of that in the very short term. The other thing is, see, a lot of us don't realize the trade-offs. Right? See, when you look at a particular institute application, somebody will say that, okay, there is some application that I have to make. It costs 2,000 rupees. But if you think of, okay, what other things in life cost 2,000 rupees? For example, if you go to Starbucks 5 times, that will cost 2,000 rupees. If you go to a movie at, let's say, a PVR twice, it will cost you 2,000 rupees, right? So can I, let's say, not do those things and instead make a B school application, right? So a lot of times we don't think of different perspectives, and because of that, we just get fixated on one thing and then say that, okay, this is very expensive. But then there are a lot of things in life that are expensive and they may not make sense. Random guy, when should we start preparing for NMAT, before CAT or after CAT? Taking in mind, I'll be giving it after 20 days after CAT. See, for those of you who are taking NMAT prior to CAT, so let's say you're taking in the month of November, right? My recommendation is simple, that you start taking mocks right away, and you continue to take, depending on when you're going to take it, 2 mocks or a mock per week, right? And you should be able to finish it. Then if you're somebody who is taking NMAT after CAT, I would still suggest that you take about 4 mocks, 4 or 5 before CAT, and keep the remaining post CAT. Now, the reason why I'm suggesting this, right, is because NMAT has a different format. So it takes a bit of a time to get used to that format. So that is where this practice will come into picture, that if you take a few mocks, even if it is maybe, let's say, 2 or 3 mocks, you don't want to do 5 mocks, let's say just 2-3 mocks before CAT, and then the remaining mocks after CAT. So that should be fine. Cutoff for every NMIMS institute is what Sujal is asking. So Sujal, we have given that information on the IMS B School Zone. We have something called B School Zone at IMS. The URL is bschoolzone.imsindia.com. and there you will be able to find all the details about NMIMS. Last 4 years cutoffs is what we have given. But just top of my mind recall, NMIMS Mumbai core program was 234 last year. And there are some institutes that, for example, for let's say the business analytics program or the other programs that they have, the cutoff starts going down, right? So I have, I think, the data with me, so I think I can share. So Mumbai and HR was 234, and again I'm able to retrieve that information very quickly is because of the B school zone. So NMIMS Mumbai and the HR program at Mumbai was 234. The business analytics program at Mumbai was 225. Digital transformation was 222. Pharmaceutical management was 185. And the other campuses, which is Bangalore and Navi Mumbai, they were at 222. And the Hyderabad and Indore campus were at 206, right? So all NMIMS campuses except the Mumbai's pharmaceutical management program, all of them are about 206, right? So that is the bare minimum that you should be aiming for. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is from Arsh Sinha. I'm scoring around 80-85 percentile in SimCAT. Credited is around 95. Should I prepare for NMAT also or continue with CAT? So see, Arsh, it kind of boils down to where you see yourself. So if NMIM is one of the institutes that you really want to get into, there is no choice, right? Then you definitely take the NMAT. But if you think that, okay, no, I don't want to do that, I'm just aspiring for, let's say, the old IIMs or whatever, then you can skip it. My general tendency towards approaching these situations is to take multiple tests and see what works out. The reason for that is because you never know what will happen in a particular test. So in the season, if you have taken, let's say, 4 or 5 different tests, you have done multiple applications, then you have created more opportunities for yourself. And then finally, you are in a situation where you can decide where I want to go and where I don't want to go, rather than being in a situation where you have limited options, right? So that is generally what I would not prefer. But again, depending on your aspirations, you can decide. Okay, moving on to question from Akshay, how to prep for CAT. Starting from now, I'm preparing for CAT and have completed quant syllabus. Akshay, so today's session is largely towards NMAT, but just to take your question very quickly, it's going to be, if you're just starting, you'll have to put in significantly more effort, about 2 topics of quant every day, a mock test every alternate day. That would be the bare minimum that you would need. Apart from that, 4 sets of DLR and 4 sets of RCs every day. That would be the minimum that I would suggest. Sonakshi, I've scheduled my exam in the 2nd week of December. Okay. How should I schedule the Admats? I also have my SNAP exam before that. Okay. So with respect to SNAP, right, the good thing about SNAP is it's a short duration test. It's a 1-hour test. And when you're preparing for NMAT, you're automatically getting prepared for SNAP because there's nothing very different in SNAP when you compare it with NMAT. The only thing that you need to get adapted to is the format, which is a 1-hour test, wherein you can see all the questions, you can jump from one section to another, and so on. So I would say that depending on when you are taking SNAP, you plan out how many mocks you need to take prior to that. So if you're taking, let's say, as you have mentioned, right, SNAP is before your NMAT. So you will have to take a couple of mocks of SNAP in October, say 1 or 2, then 1 or 2 in November, and then the remaining in December. The same thing you do for NMAT as well. So 1 or 2 mocks in October, 1 or 2 in November, and then the remaining in December, right? That is how you'll have to plan. And then you decide on the priority. So whatever is coming first, you take more mocks of that. Okay. All right. Harshit, for SNAP, do we have to fill 2 slot dates for the exam? So Harshit, the problem with SNAP is that they don't normalize your scores. In such cases, it is always better that you go for at least 2 attempts. So even in the form filling videos that we have created, I specifically mentioned that you should go for at least 2 attempts. If you're very, very serious about getting into symbiosis, 3 attempts is what you will need, because they don't normalize. See, if they had been normalizing, we would have said, okay, fine, you take any attempt and it doesn't make a difference. But they don't, right? So it's always better to go for at least 2 attempts. Okay. One request that I have, don't put the same question multiple times, because it kind of disturbs the flow of the session. See, I'm going in the order in which I received the questions, and we have a lot of time. We're going to be here till 6 o'clock. So I'll try and answer all the questions. But if you put the same questions again, then it doesn't really make sense, right? So I would request you not to do that. Okay. So coming back to Harshit's question, yeah, you should definitely go for at least 2 attempts, right, if possible. Astha Dwivedi, I have only given one mock of NMAT and not up to marks. So should I fill the form of NMAT or not? So Astha, it's not possible to gauge your performance basis one test, right? So once you and NMAT is a different test altogether, right? It's unlike any other test that you may have taken, let's say SimCATs or CAT or even any other test. So you can't judge your performance that way. Right? Your first mock generally tells you that it's a struggle to handle the sections, right? So there is a timer. You have you are not able to solve a lot of questions. Sometimes maybe you end up skipping the last 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, whatever. So the first mock, I'll not judge my performance basis that. I'll take at least 2, 3 mocks before I come to the conclusion whether I'm sort of liking the test or not. So you still have some time. The registration deadline is 10th. I would suggest that rather than completely dropping the idea of NMAT, you give it a shot and see what happens. Right? See, because I'm always in favor of creating multiple options. Even though you, let's say somebody, maybe you're somebody who is not able to score very, very high on the NMAT, but you get a reasonable score. It will create more opportunities for you. So think of it from that angle rather than just thinking it purely from that one test experience angle. Okay, AD. The placement for NMIMS this year was very low because of high number of students. Considering I'm from a weak financial background, is it good for me? Okay, so AD, see what happens is, and this is not only about NMIMS but about all the B schools in general, right? Last year was a challenge, right? So for a lot of B schools, because the hiring numbers were going down. So across campuses, you had it wasn't that 100% placements were happening. That number was on the lower side. The other was the kind of packages were offered, that was also on the lower side. So there was a struggle that pretty much everybody went through, right? It's like COVID times where everybody is in the same boat. It's not that one person is doing better or the other is not doing better, right? So that is how it was last year. So when you look at any business school, if you are somebody who has done well after entering the B school, you will survive. What I mean by that is, see, a lot of people think that getting into a B school means that you will get placed. That's not how it is, because that also is a competitive space. You are going to have, depending on which college you get into, 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000 people who are trying to get the best job on campus. So if you go there and sit tight and say that, okay, I've reached here, I've arrived, then it's going to be a problem for you, right? So instead, what you should do is you should say that, okay, I've gotten, this is where the competition begins. Now let me work further, right? So let me work on my profile. Let me get the best scores that I can get in my academics. Let me try and participate in a lot of competitions. Let me win some of them. Let me try and get some pre-placement interviews, right? So if you keep on that growth path, even if, let's say, the economy for some reason is not in favor, you will still do well. You will survive. So that is why last year it was bad for everybody. I mean, a lot of IIMs had what 15% drop in their placement reports, right? So if it happens to IIMs, it is going to happen to other colleges as well. So it's okay. I mean, one or two bad years doesn't mean that the institute itself is not doing well. Okay, what else do we have? So Dipali, which colleges I should not miss filling in the form? So when you fill the NMAT form, there are you can put 5 options, and then beyond that, every additional option you have to pay some amount. If you do that, it is just saying that, okay, it is telling GMAT that they are supposed to share your NMAT score with whatever institute, right? So if you say NMIMS University in your NMAT application, that doesn't mean that you have completed your NMIMS application. It just means that NMAT will share your score with NMIMS. After you complete that, you have to go to NMIMS and apply separately. You complete their NMIMS application. Once you're done, then you're done with that application. So which institutes? Of course, you should be applying to NMIMS. You can definitely look at KJ Somaya, SDA Bocconi, TAPMI is what you have. So there are some very good options through NMAT that you can look at. Shreyas, what is the level of difficulty of NMAT? Okay, so again, what are you comparing it with, right? So if you're comparing it with, let's say, CAT, you're definitely going to find the quality of questions to be, or the difficulty of the questions to be, on the lower side. Having said that, it doesn't mean that it is very easy test to crack, because it has a different format. See, when you look at CAT, is a test of content plus speed. whereas NMAT, I would say, is a test of how quickly you're able to make decision whether I want to attempt this question or I want to move on to the next question, because you can't come back to the question, right? So once you attempt a particular question, there's no going back. So that is why it's a separate test. It's a different test altogether. So it's not that people who do well on the CAT will be able to replicate their performance on the NMAT or vice versa. So, but yes, if you just objectively look at the difficulty of the questions, NMAT questions will be on the lower side compared to CAT. Rakshit, after writing first attempt of NMAT, if I want to write the second time, should I pay extra fees for writing the second time? Yes, you need to. So you need to pay an additional amount for the retake. Meet Desai, please share NMAT strategy to crack. Okay, so see, with respect to how I have done on the test in the last several years, I've generally stayed, because they don't give ranks and everything, we don't have the official data, but I think I have got a single digit rank in every single year, because we collect so many scorecards, and we have never really seen people going beyond a certain range. What I think is, it's possible for a lot of people to go to, let's say, a 260 plus or 270 plus or a 280 plus also. 290 plus is generally something which is a challenge for a lot of people. When you look at the strategy to crack, it's very simple. You start with the section that you're most comfortable with, because that puts you in a good zone, and always keep a track of how you're doing on the time, and then take risks accordingly. So for example, in quant, you have 36 minutes, you have 52 minutes for 36 questions, right? So you have 13 minutes for 9 questions. So every 13 minutes, if you're not there in that zone where you've done 9 questions, then you have to do a course correction. So I will always keep a track of that, because see, it's not possible to do every question in a certain time limit. In some questions, you might need 2 minutes. In some question, you might need 1 minute. But overall, you have to ensure that you are able to complete the entire paper. So I will definitely complete my whole paper, because if I leave any questions unattempted in any of the sections, it is going to give me a penalty. How much penalty, nobody knows, but there is a penalty. Right? So that is why make sure that you complete the paper. That itself will help you to get a slightly better score. And then the more questions you solve which are of higher difficulty, the better it is for you. So that's the key to getting a higher score. The other thing is, I would say, is don't think too much while you're taking the test, because a lot of times students keep thinking about, okay, how am I doing on the test? But you can't really predict that. I mean, you can't predict your score. So it's okay, whatever you can solve, you solve that and see what happens, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is from Nishtha. What are the main topics in all the 3 sections for NMAT? Okay. So I mentioned this sometime back, but then just a quick refresher on that. So RCs is same as what you have on the CAT at a lower difficulty. So nothing much to prepare there. Definitely prepare for grammar and vocabulary when it comes to the VRC section. For LR, standalone puzzles, coding, decoding, series, analogies, and so on. And for mathematics, again, nothing different apart from the data sufficiency type of questions that are there. Shreyas has asked if NMAT difficulty is at par with MBA CET or tougher. More difficult than MBA CET in terms of the absolute quality of questions. I scored 220. This is from Gokul Ramesh. I scored 228 in NMAT 1 of IMS. How relevant is this test to actual exam? How much I need to improve? And if asked to choose the sequence of attempt like order of QA, LS, LR, which one is efficient? So Gokul, that's a very good question. In fact, both your questions are very good. First is regarding mock score of IMS and the actual NMAT score. What we have typically found is that people do better than what they get in IMS mocks, right? We have even corrected the algorithm a little bit to sort of factor that in. But I would suggest that if you're getting somewhere around 228 in IMS mocks, consider like a +5 to +10 for the official scoring algorithm. Okay, it depends sometimes on how the test is and all of that. So it's not kind of written in stone that okay, if you get so much here, you will get so much there. But generally, people do slightly better than the IMS mock score. But definitely +5 is what you can walk with. Right? The second one is regarding the sequence of the sections. Choose what really works for you. Right? See, I personally do quant first, followed by logic, and then LR, then the language section, right? So quant, logic, language. But then that is because it works for me. I am not saying that everybody should do that, right? Because see, if you're doing that, you have to be good at quant. But if you're not good at quant, doing that as the first section, sometimes you may get disappointed because of that. So for me, even if I'm tired, and that is my logic, which I've also explained in all the, I've written blog post on the cracking CET blog on my NMAT attempts from every year. And the reason why I do this, right, is because I realize that if I get tired, I start making mistakes in quant. So at the end of 2 hours, and I mean at the end of whatever 1.5 hours, you're generally tired, right? So if I do quant that way, I tend to make mistakes. Whereas if I'm fresh, I don't make mistakes in quant. But even if I'm tired, I'll be able to handle my verbal ability section. So that is why for me personally, I do quant, logic, and language. But you try to do different order in your mocks and see what works for you as a person. If you think this is good for me, then you can use that, right? So there's no fixed recommended order as such. You do whatever makes sense to you. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. All right. So this is a question from Pranav. What should be top college preferences? So NMIMS, of course, that will be the first preference that you put. You can always put SDA Bocconi. You can put KJ Somaya. You should definitely put TAPMI. So those would be some of the colleges that you put. And regarding NMIMS preferences, if you're asking, go with the cutoff order, right? So NMIMS Mumbai will be the first priority that you put. Then MBHR has the same cutoff. Bangalore will have a 222, business analytics was 225, right? So you go in that order as much as possible. Okay, Lakshay, do all the questions carry same weightage on the NMAT as difficulty level varies according to previous attempted questions? Lakshay, so they have never revealed that. So thanks for asking that question. A lot of people think that all questions carry equal marks. No, not really. It depends. We don't know. So they have never revealed the exact algorithm and whether the questions have the same weightage or same marks. They have not given anything about it. So there could be some questions that are even experimental in nature, because if you look at the other tests that are conducted by the GMAC, they tend to have these experimental questions that don't contribute towards final score. So that may be the case. We don't know at this point of time. So I would suggest that instead of wondering about that, right, whether questions have equal marks or whatever, you just try to do every question that comes your way correctly, right? And that will just contribute to a higher score. Okay. All right. So let's go with the next one, which is from Bora Devansh. Is it good to pursue digital transformation from NMIMS Mumbai? If you're interested, why not? So if you're somebody who has that sort of an aspiration in terms of what career path you want to take, definitely apply. Yash, please share any tips for CMAT 2025. Okay, so a lot of time, Yash, for CMAT, we have a lot of time to get there. So right now, not really, but I would say the only extra tip that I can give is to just follow current affairs from now on, so that you don't feel the pressure of it towards the end. Where to give NMAT mocks in IMS? So you log into my IMS portal, go to test, go to Admat, and there you will find it. AD has asked, my NMAT is on 2nd December. I'm currently fully focused on completing my CAT syllabus. Should I prepare for NMAT right now or focus on CAT only? As I said, you'll have to do those additional topics, and you have to do them in parallel, right? Because post CAT, you may not have enough time. Is Alliance University good for digital transformation? I'm not very sure. I've not really explored this specific program from there. But then you look at the placement report, you talk to a few people who have done the program and see what they have to say. Vijay Murthy, would you recommend NMIMS for marketing? Sure, why not? I mean, if you look at NMIMS, the core program, whether it is finance or marketing or whatever they have to offer, see, ultimately it's your call, right? Which one you want to take. If you want to do marketing or finance or HR operations, it should not truly be on the basis of or only be on the basis of the placement report, right? That okay, this specialization pays more, so I'm going to go for that. Because then it may not be the right choice for you and you will get frustrated. So instead of that, just figure out whether you want to do marketing, and If it is marketing, then of course NMIMS is one of the good options that you have out there. Believer, suppose if I forgot to add certain time job experience, so will I be able to tell that in the interview? Possible, but you may not get points for that. Asta, I have given one NMAT mock. Okay, I've already answered that question. AD, other than grammar and data sufficiency, any other deviation from CAT syllabus on NMAT? So if you're asking me about quant specifically, so NMAT does not ask you anything from geometry, and there's no time speed distance. So no geometry, no time speed distance. So the NMAT official guide is a very good source in terms of understanding what exactly will be asked. So if you can get your hands on the NMAT official guide, I am not saying you have to purchase it. I am saying even if you get say an old copy, right, from a friend or whatever who had taken it last year, that will suffice. So just go through it to understand what is the level of questions and what are the topics that are covered. Okay. Maker has asked 868 EWS percentile to convert IIM Udaipur. Okay, so see, these are difficult questions to answer, right? Because there's no unique answer to it. The way I can tell you that NMAT cutoff was 234 last year, and it was 232 sometime, 235 sometime, and so on. This data also has a lot of fluctuations, right? And it depends on the candidate pool of that particular year, how many EWS aspirants will be there, how many of them will be applying to IIM Udaipur, and all of that. So that is why there's no unique answer to that question. What you need to focus on is what is the best that I can do, right? If I can potentially get a 99 percentile, doesn't matter which category I'm from, let me get 99 percentile, right? So you focus all your energy on that rather than trying to think about, okay, what's the score that I need to get in. Okay, Vicky, I've scheduled my NMAT on November 29th, which is just 5 days after CAT. How should I tackle NMAT mocks? Vicky, as I mentioned, 1 or 2 mocks per week from now itself is what you need to do. So maybe considering you have given me the date, which is 29th, I would say 1 mock per week from now on till you reach mid-November, and then the remaining 5 mocks in those 5 days. So, and you'll also have to take the NMAT official mock one of these weeks, right? So I would say first week November you should take the NMAT official mock one. Botany is my passion. Hi, I did not opt for CAT. Reason is I'm not good with logical and mathematical questions. Okay, I'm not sure what exactly you are looking for, but okay, you have written. Do you have any idea for doing MBA without CAT? See, technically, yes, you can get into some of the MBA programs without taking the CAT route, but then there will be some or the other aptitude test that they will need, right? It could be an NMAT or a SNAP or a CET or a CMAT or something else. So yes, there are opportunities that exist, but then it is going to have some component of logical and mathematical reasoning. Again, figure out what exactly is stopping you from getting there. Nishinoya, I've been preparing for CAT only, not NMAT. How should I start? Then this, first of all, this session is not relevant to you. You should just be focusing on the CAT prep, which is taking mocks and doing your CAT core syllabus. Sulagna, is it better to give NMAT before CAT? My slot is on 9th November. It's not really a question of better or not. It's a question of where you feel confident about your prep. So if you think by 9th November that you mentioned, you're going to be prepared for the test, then great. Nothing should stop you from taking it on the 9th. If you think that no, I'm going to need more time to take it, maybe prepare for it, take it in December or whatever. But since you're already scheduled, right, I don't think you should change that unless you are thinking 100% that you will not be prepared for the test. But if you think that, okay, no, I will be prepared for the test, I can put in the effort that is required, go ahead and don't reschedule the test. Okay, Yamini, I registered for NMAT and it's showing a rescheduling fee after selecting the date of examination. So should I pay this or not? I'm confused, and nothing about this is mentioned in the video as well. No, I had clearly mentioned it, right? So if let's say you're paid for NMAT and you've booked your date, okay, so let's say, for example, I booked my test on the 10th November. Now I decide to change this date. This is what is called rescheduling. So if I reschedule my test, I'll have to make the rescheduling payment. Okay. If I've taken the test and I want to take it again, that is what a retake is. and you also have to pay for a retake separately. Okay, so rescheduling, you have to pay if you have to reschedule the test. The first scheduling of NMAT, they will not charge you. I mean, that is obviously the NMAT fees. But if you have booked a date, right, that okay, I have scheduled my test on the 10th, let's say 10 November, and I want to now take it on, let's say, the 20th November, I will have to pay the rescheduling fees. Sahil, and Admat focus strategy from now. Okay, so I'm going to definitely do pretty much all question types that appear on the Admats. As I said, if you're taking NMAT, then focus on those topics. If you're focused on SNAP, then those additional topics such as technical aspects of grammar and all of that. So yeah, for NMAT and SNAP, again, you will have to do those additional topics. CET, CMAT, etc. You have a lot of time, so nothing to be done at this point of time, at least. Okay, can anyone give a list of 7 colleges good to apply an NMAT form? I can give you 4 options at least. So NMIMS will be the first one. You can apply to TAPMI, KJ Somaya, and SDA Bocconi, right? So these 4 definitely should be there in your application. And yeah, is the difficulty of NMAT comparable to SNAP is what Shrutish is asking. Okay, so yes, comparable to SNAP, but format wise, NMAT is more challenging than SNAP. That's what I feel. Palash, can you please suggest colleges for operations management or supply chain management which I should apply through NMAT? See, all these programs, right? When you look at any MBA program, operations or supply chain is one of the specializations that will be offered, or it will be offered as an elective. So technically, doesn't matter which specialization that you're looking at this point of time. You just select the names of the institutes and apply. Vasudha, I never registered in NMIMS, but it is showing already registered with the mobile number. What should I do? You can try logging in. So you can enter that particular mobile number and put your email ID and see if it works. If it doesn't, then just create a new account with a new email ID and a mobile number. Dikshit, which topic should I focus on? Again, I answered this question sometime back, but just again, maybe because it's a frequently asked question. For VRC section, it is going to be grammar and vocabulary. For quant, it is going to be data sufficiency questions. And for LR, it is going to be standalone logic puzzles, coding, decoding, series, blood relations, and so on. AD, if I maybe want to pursue a career out of India, are NMIMS accreditations useful? Which other colleges are good in that aspect? I have seen people go abroad, and even people who are not from colleges such as NMIMS, right? Even some of the lower ranked institutes. So it's not really about whether NMIMS, the kind of stature they have, is that something that is meaningful for abroad admissions or not, or abroad job applications or not. You can always go there, right? I mean, in fact, there's so many people who go abroad for whatever, whether it is for job or for some other reasons. It's your call and you can always do it. It has got nothing to do with which college you're from. Richard, the fees provided in IMS B School Zone is for 2 years or 1. Okay, so we put the fees for the entire 2-year program, not for 1 year. Sunrisers ST Bocconi form registration is in 3 phases. So they do rounds. I think they do round 1 and round 2. Round 3, I'm not sure whether they will have this year. Will this session be saved? Yes, it will be. RD25, I got 187 in IMS mock. How should I improve more? Focus on the areas where you got the least score, first of all, and figure out exactly what happened. Because a lot of times we have seen that the students take the NMAT mock that IMS offers, and they don't complete the entire section. Now, if you don't complete the entire section, of course, your score is going to go on the lower side because there's a penalty for not attempting all the questions. So factor that in. I mean, understand that your score is on the lower side is because maybe you're not completed the entire section. So the first thing would be to complete the section, right? That obviously will push your score up. And then figure out what specific concepts you need to work on. Okay. Sumit, giving NMAT and SNAP both this year, which slot to choose for NMAT, after or before CAT? Okay, whenever you feel confident, right? So whenever you think I'll be able to do justice to the test, you can take it. If you think prior to CAT you're going to be prepared for the test, go ahead and schedule it that way. Otherwise, you can put it post CAT as well. Can I prepare for grammar and data sufficiency in the last 7 days? My NMAT is on 2nd December. I'm currently focusing on CAT prep completely. Maybe, I mean, possible, but then see, grammar may take a little bit more time. So it's not a magic pill that within 7 days your grammar will improve. So I would say maybe even if you spend half an hour every day on grammar, it will help you both for your CAT as well as NMAT and for SNAP as well later. Adarsh, last year I got 244 in NMAT but couldn't convert interview last year as I was not prepared well. This year I got 220 in NMAT 1. My exam is on December 14. How should I plan after CAT? Adarsh, Vishnu, I think you know whatever it is that is required about NMAT, right? Considering you got a 244 last year. So there isn't much that I can tell you. But I will say that, see, you know what exactly is required in terms of prep, right? There's nothing new that I can add there. But what mistakes you made last time in terms of your prep or whatever the mock test taking, etc., just work on those aspects, right? You don't have to do anything apart from that, because 244 is a solid score on NMAT. If you want to further improve it, of course, take more mock tests and figure out what content gaps exist. But otherwise, you pretty much know what is required. Rishabh, how to improve vocab that is relevant to NMAT in the remaining days? So NMAT official guide would be, there are two sources that I can recommend. One is, of course, the IMS has given you a list of words, right? So you have that. And the second thing would be, of course, the NMAT official guide. So these two things you can refer to. Even the GRE word list, right? So if you Google GRE word list, you will find Barron's GRE word list. You can just start with that. But I will pretty much focus on the NMAT official guide word list. That should suffice. Okay. Vicky, I have filled the form for exam BHR, but oh, sorry, I missed one of the colleges, which is again Xavier University. So that would be another addition. But I've not selected exam in the NMAT form in the top 5 college. So should I add the college, or now is it okay if I leave it? No, you will have to add, right? I mean, see, the whole point of putting that name in the NMAT application is to ensure that your score gets shared with that institute. So you'll have to enter it. Are there any ABM agribusiness management colleges under NMAT? Cypria, nothing that comes to my mind, top of the mind recall. I don't have anything right now. But you can check out B School Zone and see if you find something. Okay, Neha, can we add college preferences after NMAT? Yes, it is possible to do that. But for NMIMS, because you have to make an application before 10th October, at least ensure that whatever you have to do for that, you complete it in your NMAT dashboard. Okay. Do we have to apply for all NMIMS campuses differently? No, Ujjwal. It's a singular form. So in the same form, you indicate preferences that you want to put. Mukesh, module 5 is sufficient for practice for NMAT and SNAP? Yes, but I would also add the Admat masterclasses. So we have released 20 Admat masterclasses for IMS students. Those, if you do all of them completely, I think your Admat preparation is more or less done. Sakshi, what would you recommend, NMAT before CAT or after CAT? Okay. I honestly don't have any recommendation, otherwise I would have given it. I tell you one simple thing: if you feel confident about your prep, if you think that you can pull it off, take it in November, not on the first day. The only thing that I tell people, and even in the form filling guideline I had mentioned this, do not take NMAT on the first day. Not because you can't do well, because there could be errors, there could be issues, and I have experienced this in the past, and that is why I keep telling people. And it has happened with me twice. So one of the years, I took it on day 1, again, one of the first few slots. After a few days, I got a mail from them saying my score has been cancelled because of some technical issue that happened on that day. Last year, NMAT, people who took it on day 1, the verbal scores were extremely inflated, and then they rectified those scores, right? So see, that is why first day not recommended. Otherwise, you can take it at any point of time whenever you feel confident. Okay, if I apply only for NMAT, is it possible to apply any colleges after knowing my score? Some of them, yes. I mean, it's possible to do that, but you have to keep a track of the institute application deadline. So have a lookout for that. The B School Zone is the place to go. So IMS B School Zone, if you go there, you have all the application deadlines mentioned in a chronological order. Priya Anand, how relevant is the expected percentile in the mocks, the CAT mocks, or on the portal? Should I pay attention to it or not? it's a good data point to look at. Definitely a confidence booster. Tells you what is the impact of or potential impact of dead weight on the actual CAT. Piyush, scoring in mid 40s in IMS CAT mocks, what percentile should I expect in actual exam? If you're asking me mid 40s in terms of score, that's a decent position to be in, and we anyway give a predicted CAT percentile, so that kind of answers your question. कुशाग्र ये रिश्ता क्या कहलाता है? Okay, fine. I think decent song and whatever. Pratham, is it worthy to give more than one attempt of NMAT or go for only one attempt? See, for NMIMS, of course, is the first attempt, right? So even for Ksom, it is the first attempt. So for if you're applying to these places, only your first attempt will count, right? But if you are looking at some of the other options where they consider multiple attempts and the best of the attempts that you submit, I think you can go for a second attempt. Okay. Harry currently scoring 40-50 marks in mock. Should I fill MDI and SPG? Can take a shot. I mean, see, there's nothing much to lose, right? Apart from the money that you lose in immediate terms if you don't get a call, there isn't much to lose, honestly, right? So, and even when I was a student, I have had like enough disappointment. So, applied to some of the places and they never called back. So, it's okay. That's fine. You kind of get over that thing. AD, are we supposed to prepare for Admat exams? Are there lectures for these exams? Okay, so for IMS students, if you're a CAT student, these are the resources that you should be using. Module 5, Admat masterclasses and Admat mocks, right? If you're a NMAT SNAP CET or an NMAT SNAP CMAT student with IMS, your courseware takes care of the entire content. Additionally, do Admat masterclasses and the full-length mock test. Can I skip geometry for NMAT? Yes. Can I skip geometry for SNAP? No. Okay. In Con, not done with modern math. Should I do it now or skip it? You should do it. Fayas, I'm getting very, very low score, less than 30 percentile on SimCAT. Will I be able to crack CAT? See, look at predicted CAT percentile. I'm sure it should be somewhere close to 60, 70 for you at least, if you're scoring 30 percentile on the SimCATs, which definitely should be a confidence booster. I'm saying don't get fixated with percentile, right? Instead, look at your score and compare that with actual CAT benchmarks, and that should help you more. Okay. My NMAT is 2 weeks after my CAT. What should I focus on during that period? You have to do these additional topics that I mentioned and just mocks, right? So my focus is largely going to be on taking mocks and seeing what kind of mistakes I'm making and then doing those topics very well. Khushi, the NMAT is scheduled for December 7th, while the first attempt of SNAP is December 8th. This overlap presents a challenge for my prep. Could you please advise how to manage? So from now on, you'll have to take, as I said, 1 or 2 mocks per week of NMAT or SNAP, depending on when you're taking it. Since you have said December, I'll say start with 1 mock of NMAT and 1 of SNAP every week from now till, let's say, 20th November or maybe 17th, 18th November. Then you take a break for CAT. Once CAT is done, increase this frequency to 2 mocks per week, right? 2 or 3, depending on how many you have remaining, right? But otherwise, see, I mean, it just needs slight bit of adapting to the format, which isn't going to be a lot of challenge, because SNAP and MAT preparation, there's like a significant overlap. I mean, I've never really seen people do well on the NMAT mess up their SNAP and vice versa, right? So if you're prepared for one test, you'll generally do well on the other test as well. Okay. AD, do slots for later date even open up? Should I keep checking them? Yeah, you'll have to keep checking them. There's no way to figure out whether they will keep opening more slots or not. But whenever you find a convenient slot, you just book it. So don't wait for more slots to open up. Okay. Vishesh, I have my NMAT on 6th, SNAP on 8th. I'm also aiming to appear for MyCAT. So would it be wise to go for MyCAT 1? MyCAT 2 is a bit late. I won't be able to practice for that. See, even for MyCAT, because what they look at is the best percentile that you get in the individual tests. Ideally, if you're serious about MyCAT, you should take both MyCAT 1 as well as MyCAT 2. So it's not really a choice for people who are kind of focused on MyCAT. But the format of MyCAT is very different compared to NMAT SNAP. So that is where the slight bit of challenge lies. So I would say that if you're planning to take MyCAT 1, which is in December, you need to complete at least 3 MCAT mocks in November itself. Okay. All right. NMAT mocks of IMS are adaptive is a question from Lovely. Yes, they are. So we have tried to mimic the algorithm that NMAT follows to whatever extent that we can, basis our understanding. So yes, they are adaptive in nature. Two people will not have the same set of questions, right? I mean, some people may have exactly same set of questions because the way they have performed, but we have different. There's a question pool from which the questions are getting. I mean, it's just pulling questions from that that pool that is there. So that is why two people will have different tests. That is possible. Okay. All right. I think a lot of questions I've already answered, so that's why I generally keep asking people not to put the same questions again, because then then you lose a track of what is going on. Do we have to apply for KJSOMA separately after selecting it in the NMAT preference? Yes, Payal, you need to do that. Okay. Preet quant score is not going above 15. 15 helps you to clear the sectional cutoff. Now you have to figure out, okay, what are these the remaining 17 questions that you have that you're not able to solve, what topics are they from, what concepts they are from, and then practice those between the two SIMCATs that you're taking. Okay, last year I scored 231 on the NMAT. What to do to score 280 plus this year? See, when you look at 280 or more, right, generally it will happen because of one excellent section or 3 great sections, right? If you have 3 sections that are, let's say, 90 90 90 kind of a thing, right, where you can go beyond 270, or if you have one section where you pull off, let's say, 100 or something like that, right? So in every year, wherever I've got like a 290, more than 290, every year I think I've got like a 280 plus, at least in the last few. But I've got 291 and 290 also. But that has happened because of one section at least where you hit 100. Because if you do that, once you do that, then automatically your score goes up, right? Obviously, you've taken like a fair lead. Quant generally is not going to be an area where people get beyond 95 or 100. So mostly it is going to be an LR or a VA section where you can potentially get 100 plus. So focus on that. How do you get there? Which is going to be more practice problems and more mock test taking. NMAT cutoff for SD Bocconi, generally 225-ish. So 225, if you're getting, then that should be enough. Okay. Arpit, should we apply through CAT or GMAT for ISB? Okay. Why don't you apply with both, right? I mean, why should it be this or that when you can submit both? Others, last year I got a 244, this year I got a 220 in mock 1, feeling a little rusty. My exam is on December 14. So that rustiness, I think everybody feels that, whoever has taken it earlier, right? So even I feel rusty at this point of time. So if anybody asks me to take NMAT tomorrow, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a good score. I'm definitely rusty. But what I'll do is, before I go for the final test, I'll take at least 1 or 2 mocks, and that will ensure that I'm able to sort of dust off that thing and then be ready for it. So see, once you've done it, like once you've got a good score in the test, you know what is needed to get there. Then even if you get rusty, you will be okay. It's like cycling, right? Even if you know cycling, you take a break for 1 year, you'll still be able to cycle. Maybe not in the same efficient manner, but you'll still be able to do it. Devika, I have my NMAT on 10th, but my quant section is not going well. What all things to focus on, as I only have almost 30 days from now? So refer to the index of the NMAT official guide. Right? So if you can get the NMAT official guide, great. If you can't, borrow from somebody who had used it last year, and then just focus on the index, go through the topics, and do only that much, and that should suffice for the NMAT quant. Okay. What else? Okay. Devendra, I paid for slot 1 and 3 of SNAP. Now I also want to add second slot. Can I do that? Yes, it is possible to do that. Rishabh, do we have to schedule NMAT appearing date before last date of registration, or we could fix that later as well? So the first NMAT date, I think you have to schedule it before 10th October itself. I'm not sure if you can do it later, but why wait, right? I mean, if you have paid for NMAT, the scheduling part is not going to take a lot of time. So just schedule it and finish it off. I gave my NMAT official mock, got 75 by doing 21 right, and another test by doing only 15 correct. I got 70, but according to marks, I should get about 50. Why is that? According to what? Nobody knows the algorithm, right? NMAT algorithm, nobody has an idea. We don't know it. Nobody else in the test preparation market knows it, right? So don't say that I should be getting above 50 marks or whatever, because there's no algorithm that they have published. Okay, so the scores will fluctuate depending on how you have performed on the test. If you see, if you have done 21 questions correct, and let's say you've done only 21 questions, there is a penalty for those remaining questions that you have not attempted, right? And even if when you are attempting questions, let's say you do a couple of questions correct, your score goes up a little bit because of that, you start answering questions incorrectly, the score will start going down. So it's a function of that. It's an adaptive test, right? So yeah. Okay, how to buy SNAP mock from IMS SNAP only? Okay, so we have an Admat test series, right? We don't really offer individual test mocks. Maybe we'll think about it, but not right now. Okay. Devanshi, I scored 182 last time. What area should I focus more to boost my score? Of course, look at your score split, figure out where exactly the problems were, right? And then work on those areas for this year. Should I fill NMAT or not is what Pankur is asking. It's your individual call. I won't be able to help there, but I'll just say that it's better to apply and see what happens rather than rejecting the institute or the test at this point of time. Okay, so don't do that. What is a good score in IMS CAT mocks? Okay, we've already given a predicted CAT percentile and all of that, so you can focus on that. Will IMS mocks be sufficient for NMAT and SNAP prep? The answer is yes. Devanshi, should be fine. You don't need more than that. Tanmay, what are the Admat and CAT recorded masterclasses in SimCAT Comprehensive? Are they helpful with the level of CAT and Admat? Yes. So if you're looking at the masterclasses, they basically cater to that specific test. So CAT masterclasses are at higher difficulty level. Admat masterclasses focus on the Admat level of difficulty, right? And the topics that are asked on the Admat. So you should have a look at these. Okay, we have time for maybe another 2-3 minutes. I'm going to take some of the questions that I was not able to answer. I'm from medical field. I want to pursue healthcare from NMIMS. What is the cutoff? So NMIMS, in their set of programs that they offer, there's a pharmaceutical management program. Cutoff for that was somewhere around 180 that I mentioned some time back. But then I don't know whether you're interested in the pharmaceutical management. The healthcare management program, I'm not sure which specific thing that you're talking about, but I will have to check and sort of get back on that, right? So if you can leave a comment, I will try and reply on that. Is getting more marks means more chance of selection at NMIMS because the interview weightage is 10% only? Yes, that's correct. The higher you score, the higher is your chance. Okay, now how to improve solving speed in quant? Not able to solve even 5 questions. Okay, if you're asking me about CAT, your question selection game has to improve. So that is what you need to improve on, and identifying the right set of questions, then doing them correctly without any mistakes. That will lead to a higher score. Okay. I have selected 5 NMAT colleges. Other than NMIMS, do the other colleges have their forms? Are there deadlines for all colleges final? Okay. So when you fill the NMAT form and indicate, let's say 4 or 5 options, that just means that your score will be shared with that institute. Go to that individual college website and make an application. Please visit the B School Zone of IMS. It's bschoolzone.imsindia.com. Bookmark that. There's a section called application deadlines, and that is where you will get all these updates. Is there any reservation cutoff in NMAT? No. If you're asking about NMIMS, no. Have completed my NMAT registration. Is it mandatory to fill the NMIMS registration form separately? Gauri, see, why are you taking NMAT? The best college that you can get through NMAT is going to be NMIMS. Now, if you're not applying to NMIMS, then what's the point? If I know that you may be thinking of these other colleges that are there, but why not aim for the best one that is out there, which is NMIMS? So that is why make sure that you also apply to NMIMS. Can you give an estimate as to how many people take the NMAT IMS mocks? Right now we released them last week, so and because it's taken at a different point of time by different set of people, there's no exact number that I can share at this point of time. We'll see if we can release that information later. Can you please tell the preference for NMIMS University? Okay, so within NMIMS, my preference order is going to be this. MBA Mumbai, that's the first preference, followed by MBA HR. If I'm not going to do MBA HR, the next preference can be MBA Business Analytics. Then after that, I'll put Bangalore, I'll put Navi Mumbai. And after that, I'll either put like a digital transformation, or I will go with something like, say, an Hyderabad or an Indore campus. Okay. All right. I think we have answered majority of the questions. I know there are some questions that maybe we didn't get a chance to discuss enough. But if you go through the recording, you'll realize that I've answered pretty much all of them, right? So in some or the other form. In fact, we started with that question that Adarsh has been asking, whether should I apply to NMIMS or not, considering the cost and all those angles. So once this thing goes, we finally release this, right? We are going to end the session in a couple of minutes. Watch the initial part of the recording and you will know that the answer to your question, right? Yeah, Adarsh, I was talking about your question only, that you watch the initial part of the recording and you will have that answer, right? Whether you should apply or you should not. Okay, all right. I think we are more or less done. So thanks everyone for joining. I understand that there were some questions that we didn't discuss enough. Leave it as a comment and I'll try and get back as early as possible. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining. Wish all of you all the best. I hope this session has helped you. And if there's anything that we didn't discuss, as I said, leave it as a comment. The NMIMS and NMAT application deadline is just around the corner. 10th October is the deadline. Make sure that you watch the NMAT plus NMIMS form filling video. We've also pinned the application link, so you can start your application from there and watch the video so that you don't make mistake. You have to fill the NMAT form, indicate NMIMS as one of the options there, schedule your NMAT, and then also complete the NMIMS application process to consider that, okay, I've completed my application. Okay, so that's about it. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining, and wish all of you all the best. We'll of course have more Ask Me Anything sessions coming up in the future, and I'll see you very soon. Okay, bye everyone, take care.